Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Feminine Legacy Podcast. This is your host, Jackie Ma, and today it's just me. And I'm here this week to talk to you a little bit about the life of a woman and what it means to walk in a female body and what it means for me to walk in a female body and just the overall journey that is continuously unfolding in the life of a woman. Every day we're becoming a new version of ourselves. Every day we're learning more and more about our hormones, a little bit more about how we love, what needs to shift. We mature every day of our lives. And so today, in retrospect, I am leaning into the deep calling inside of me, which feels like a sacred duty, a responsibility. And this is not just because I am a mother, although that's prolific in nature. Um, I believe that this would have been my calling regardless. It's just everything, me being a mother had set me up for it. There's plenty of women that feel this calling of um, bringing forth from their experience generated wisdom, and wisdom is something that it doesn't belong to us. Creator gave us these experiences and these bodies, and so there's all different reasons our souls generate specific avenues of growth for us to build strength and to create the antidotes to deficiencies, or to bring about light and change and truth, and to burn karma. um, so a very big piece of my story and my work in the world and my part of my duty is to serve the divine feminine, to serve women. And one, that's because I am one, so that's a house for me, but it is really, really a very deep root for me. And that's because of my experience in my life. So, where there is any form of lack, maybe, or deficiency, and we have to find a way to fill that and move through our lives, we come into a lot of growth and awareness. And so, all of the mistakes that we've made, perceived mistakes, are avenues of growth and change where we can impart then that wisdom to others. And so, it's a duty, it's a responsibility, right? The mother gave me this body, um, Creator gave me this walk in life. And so, everything I learn, I want to be able to pass it on to other women, mothers, and their generations, the next generation. I mean, that's what legacy is all about. It's about the divinity that lives inside of us that is being awakened and passed down. There's one thing to be divine and not know about it. That's a whole different experience. But once you awaken to the fact that you actually are divine and what that means and how that impacts your life, how that little bit of consciousness is like a seed in your life. And once you know that you are sacred, it will change all of your behaviors because it's consciousness. It changes everything because the way in which you perceive yourself shifts. It's just the storyline is disrupted. And so, I think about being a young girl coming up and, growing up in the early 70s, the consciousness was different then than it is right now. Like right now, our mothers would not be on this screen I'm 47 years old. Our mothers wouldn't be on the screen talking about menstruation, talking about sex, like in the general public, like posting things on Facebook or whatever the case may be. Do you see the dramatic change in consciousness? Whereas that generation was like in their own, they were bridging. They were part of an upliftment of consciousness that was preparing the way for me and for you and for all of us to be able to be here now and to be able to inform, educate, and share the knowledge and wisdom of spirit with an entire whoever's wants to listen. I mean, it's actually quite phenomenal. So, what does that mean? It means that there were a lot of women in my generation and younger, older, who didn't have access to the information that they needed or they thought they needed. We had to get it later. And so I'm still learning, right? But I didn't know anything really about my menstruation when I was young. I didn't understand what would be happening to me. I knew I was excited to get it, because I remember my sister getting hers. And there are things like you get little sneak peeks of things that you're like, oh, I've heard about that, or you read about it in a Judy Blume book, when you were um, in grade school. And so there's these little things, but there's not a lot of information. So we go through these experiences uninformed. Um, I don't think I particularly grew up thinking that women mattered that much. They were just, um, that having babies was a big deal. I didn't think that having a menstrual cycle was like, whoa. Now I'm like, whoa. The fact that we bleed every month and don't die, I mean, we're just pretty phenomenal creatures. The way the Creator has built us and set up our bodies to be contributing into this society, it's really it's a miracle. We're miracles. But again, I didn't grow up knowing that I was a miracle. I didn't grow up knowing that you were a miracle. Now I do, so it's a game changer. So, in a world that is mostly like bereft of this high wisdom, this high divine knowledge, whatever you want to call it, whether it's Christ consciousness, whether it's just divine feminine wisdom, Buddhic nature, like the higher consciousness is pushing now. It's pushing, it's pushing, it's pushing. So all of us are becoming awakened to more than we had experienced before. And alleluia, this is really, really special. Um, so, how do we look back at our lives, look at our dharma, and say, like, wow, what didn't I get that would have been so monumental for me as a young woman, as a woman, period, to feel within myself, to know within myself. And so, one of the things that I talk about here is like the truth. And for those, this is the truth that you're a divine being, that you're an emanation of source, of the mother, of the father, that you are directly one of the one, and really growing back in and awakening in this deeper remembering so that we can live our lives in greater autonomy, have a reconciliation with ourselves, come home to being a sacred vessel, come home to being a sacred woman. So there is pleasure involved for sure. But for me, the way home is just the truth. Like the information that was left out about God in my life when I was a child. And I'm not talking about religious God, I'm talking about real God. The God that lives inside of every human being, that activates, that is the breath, our life force every day, not the semantics of the structures and houses that came later. I'm talking about being a living, breathing emanation of life force energy and what to do with that, how to stay connected to that, how to honor that, how to live that in your body and open up your chakra systems, open up your womb to be able to experience Shakti flowing through your body so that you can generate more and more flow, um, more and more insights, information, activate this incredible body, which is made up of 5 elements. Your soul and your body are made up of the 5 elements. Learn how to actually use this instrument in a way that is like highly profound, miraculous. It's an avatar body for real, not just like a little um, AI, like a real avatar body, and how to animate it with the truth, animate it with the life force of me instead of continuous ego structures that I've built all the time throughout my lives to keep me safe, right? That's what we do. We look at the internet and we see like a hologram of people's ideas, projections all over the place, but to harmonize with the soul, to harmonize with the high self, and to come into this state of deep remembering. Um, one, it's a path, it's a force. So we need to seek it out because all of the noise and all of the conditioning has really nullified and kept us in a state of submissive, crushed, disconnected humanity. And so when I'm leaning into women and wow, like what's available for us, and of course, I'm always thinking about our men, but as it pertains to wombs and this work and regenerating possibility and uplifting legacy, our men and our children will always be ignited by the work that we do in our bodies. It's a hands down. So anything that a woman does, you know, that you hear the story that anything you give a woman, she'll multiply. I mean, this is the reality. This is how Creator built us, whether you're going to have children or not, you know, whether you're going to cook that meal or whether you're going to, you know, nourish a community with your laughter, whatever it is, to be, to show up in this way, to bring forth the wisdom is what it means to accentuate leadership, and to exude whatever it is that is your gift and your quality that is possessing you, is possessed through you, that is part of your incarnational dharma, part of who you are, part of your duty. So I'm speaking about this because, you know, when I talk about, and I'll be talking more and really bringing the work out in the near future, but when I speak about menstruation, when I speak about rites of passage, when I speak about these important psychological stages of development inside of a woman's life, I'm talking about much more than the psychology of our psyche. That's all programming anyway. I'm talking about the energetic power and the source that has created it within you, within your mother, and how we can use all of this, reconnecting to it and using specific technologies and spiritual sciences to really open up the spaces and places that have been shut down or compartmentalized, so we can use these timelines, these time frames, with the understanding of our spiritual nature, which needs to come back online because most of the world doesn't even know that we're having a, that we're spiritual beings actually having a spiritual experience. So it moves out of like woo woo and even moves out sort of the blood mysteries to be like, how do you operate your avatar body in integrity, being in the highest divine alignment, in the truth of who you are? So, in order for you to do that, there are certain things in a woman's life that she needs to become one with, that she needs to cultivate a relationship with for her own health and understanding of who she is. So, some of these things at the physical avatar body level, right, would be menstruation first, seeing as though you're going to bleed for maybe 40 years of your life, to be able to deeply, intricately understand how the cycle of energy, how the waters move through your body, how it opens up and uses your entire system, but how it uses your hormones to send messages and signals, and how to come into a state of balance, um, so that you can walk your life in a highly, you know, hopefully conscious and productive way, in a way that is more driven by your higher consciousness versus being a default and just kind of moving along with the karma of life. So, I mean, when I was younger, that's what I did, right? Whether I was, you know, menstruating every month, or when I got pregnant as a teenager, or who I was having sex with, the choices I was making, I was sort of bound into this consciousness that was very limited in its perception. I mean, it was perfect and I'm grateful, but it was different than it is now. So now I've walked it, and I have the lessons, wisdom, and understanding. And now I can look back and say, wow, okay, now I know all of these things. And thank you. Thank you for me knowing them now. But I had to go through it in order to know them. So you have to go through it in order for you to know them. But also, there are divine beings all around us that are bringing this higher consciousness and embodying this wisdom, this leadership. And so when we're in proximity to them and we have access to their consciousness, it changes and shifts some things in our awareness, right? If you learn about a new product that's super healthy for you, and you're hanging out with somebody who is using this product and it's really doing well for her and her family, then you know you're in that consciousness and you can try it too and see if you like it and how it changes and generates more life inside of your world. So it's tools, it's gifts, it's just like, how do we wake up to the power of being a woman? How do we hand the tools to other women so that they can hand these tools on to their sisters? This is not like a, it's mine. I mean, my energy is mine. The way in which I'm going to pass it to you is uniquely mine because it's channeled by me, through me. It is the embodiment of the sum of my life's experiences. But the way in which I transmit it to you, your soul, if our souls have a connection, is exactly the way that you need to receive it so that you then can embody it, nourish it, get connected and sourced up, make new choices. And then just by you being you, you will then share and pass that on. So when we hear it's like it really is about being yourself, I mean, if I feel like my life's work is to transmit the healing of what it means to live in a female form and to transmit the propensity, the enormity, the grandiosity, and the sacred gift that Creator has given to us in this body, and use it. Really use it. Use it to bring more light, bring more of you in this incarnation, bring it to bring more of you in this body, so that you can enjoy your life. And in that enjoyment is a service. So for those that tend to get drawn to me, they're people that are service oriented because we're all part of um, a divine plan, right? I'm sure there's many people that do not have an actual purpose. There may be like that might sound strange, but some people might just be here experiencing the energy and might not feel in this incarnation that it is their calling to participate in a movement of doing something that would benefit others. But for me and for a lot of the people that I associate with and know, there's kind of a deeper calling, like I want to do something that is actually of value here. And, this confusion sometimes of doing versus being. So today I'm like sitting back again and reflecting on what is needed now. What does the world need now that I'm a medicine carrier for? Um, and that doesn't mean I go around inserting my medicine everywhere. It means that I amplify and bring that out through me, and then I make it available. And that those souls then who also want to bring this, bring something through, come together with me. And so I am calling forward a deep, like active contrition in women, like in ourselves and in our cells, of making peace with who we are, what we are, remembering who we are, so that we can really tune in and connect to the source and unlearn all the things that we don't need to know, that was the conditioning in the program, which is like purifying, stripping it down, and then really connecting into the juice of like what is truly generating through my soul, not through my ego. When we get pumped up or excited and another mask comes on, and I'm not immune to that. I'm just learning more and more what the difference is. And then we get to make a decision like, how do we want to walk in our lives with real great integrity and purpose? Or do we want to just like party? And that's cool. I did a lot of that. But as I'm getting older, as many of you know, as you get older, that changes. It's empty. Really fun and then it gets empty. You're like, oh, this was really fun for a minute and I'm done with that. So, how can I now start to use my resources and the gifts that Creator gave me to serve humanity? So, I'm just dreaming into that and the women's work and how each one of us will serve that differently and how valuable it is to have mentors. This old system, it's a really old system that I feel is really being really birthed back again. At least I'm privy of it in my awareness because it's part of my life's mission. But this sensorial understanding around like everybody lifting one another up. So, beyond the hierarchy and like all the crazy talk about any of that, the bottom line is there's always somebody there that is pulling somebody else up. And we talk quite a bit about what we call the divine matrix. And that is like probably the 144,000 plus souls that are here to amplify and create massive, massive new systems, that creating the generators of the new earth. And it sounds very new age conceptual, but it's actually quite real and very grounded from within, that we are have decided to no longer continue with systems as they were, and we understand that they've been corrupted, distorted, and we now will do whatever we need to do to bring in the power and the healing and do the purifying work so that we can then become um, a pillar of light with the will to co-create with the divine through our true soul power to create incredible change. And you'll see that breaking out in grassroots movements all over the world. I mean, that's just what's happening right now. And so I'm a part of that movement. I'm one of the mothers of this new time. And so we're really like, I don't know, for me, I'm like always looking what's needed now. What needs to come through? What are they ready for? And that's the big thing. What is the time ready for? We weren't talking about wombs at this level 20 years ago. And now it's the time. It's a big time. Jesus actually came with the womb chakra teaching, but that's a whole other story. And now this is the time for women to come in and to bring in the awareness around our bodies. That's why you're seeing such an uprising in like all these practitioners and beings talking about health. And I mean, it's all over my feed. I understand it might not be all over everybody's, but there's a lot of accessibility now to the consciousness of like we're waking up. There's a lot more technology, a lot more knowledge. And what is even more important than knowledge to me is wisdom. Knowledge is really important. When you apply it, you can really grow into some incredible wisdom. And sometimes even when you don't apply it, just through going through the school of hard knocks, right? You're like, oh, that was not the way to do that. This is the new way to do it. Great, I got that. So that's what I wanted to share today. This reflection on what is the time for now. And each one of us has to make that assessment, right? Like I'm aware for me, I go to sleep and wake up thinking about how to reconnect women to the divine. Like, how can we accelerate this in the way that is just perfect, just right, just aligned for the consciousness where we are, so that these beings have access to the truth, have access to the technology, the tools, can even come back awaken and feel their own hearts again. In our traditions, and just in general, but in our spiritual traditions, any ailment, any ailment is essentially tied to a heartbreak, a damaged womb. I mean, think about that. Like everything that's besides all the toxic food and everything, if those people didn't have the heartbreak and the damaged wombs, we wouldn't even be creating this toxic food because we would be in a different state of consciousness. We would know better. Um, but because there's been this disconnection and this heartbrokenness, it has caused so much darkness and so much suffering, that we see things that are, it's we see a lot. And so a lot is hidden, a lot is, repressed. There's a lot of things that need to be opened into the light, that need to be aired out, that need to be healed, awakened, cleared. So we're doing it. We're doing these things. So my part, I can't even begin to know my whole part, nor can any of us really. But for right now, for today, it is sharing strength with women in remembering and pointing them to very important teachings that have been here, that have been hidden from them from all their lives, that have been hidden from their mothers, that have been hidden from their grandmothers, and giving them an opportunity to make a choice, to choose a different path that is more connected, that is more aligned with coming home to the source of who they are, to come into the alignment with the one true source. And the fastest and most direct route for women to get there is through their hearts and through their wombs. And these are the places that need the most care, the most awareness, the most healing. And so it's a beautiful journey. So I'm in the cauldron with like, oh, how if we start young, and what is it? Is it in Rich Dad, Poor Dad? It's just like instead of fixing broken men. I mean, if we're doing it, if we come together and truly, truly get in there and become the alchemists again, like truly uproot all the distortions, all the satanic energy, all of the ways in which we have been compromised. As long as we have that dharma of like the truth, serving the truth, leaning into that, stepping into that, getting into the symphony of what that even feels like, even wanting it, knowing that it's a thing, that there's something outside of what you're living that is so much more real than what you're experiencing. And it's home for us. And so, of course, humanity is sick when they're living outside of that home. Once the heart gets broken and the womb gets damaged, we start to separate and move outside. Illusions start to come. We start to not know what's up and what's down. It becomes very confusing in the Maya, in the world. And so healing these spaces, coming back home and remembering is an integral part of a journey of being one with God. I'm throwing the big God out there because the way I mean it is different. It's the generator, the operator, it's the destroyer. It's the consciousness that is inherent to you all the time. We grew up thinking that a church, through different religions, that God was outside of us. God is inside of us and God is everywhere around us. You watching this are a piece of God right now. So coming back into union is really, really important. So I'm putting together ways in which you can work with me that will directly bring you back into connection, um, into the space where you even know that you're sovereign enough to have to make a decision and to have to make it over and over again because there's nothing easy about it. I mean, when you've lived your whole life a certain way and you want to live in the truth, that means almost everything that you've been taught has been an important part of the journey, and a lot of it you're going to not use. You're going to learn to think differently. You're going to learn to experience your feelings differently. The things that we've been emanating through our families, through our peers, through our communities are not the truth. What people believe and say around us are not the truth. And it's really important for women to be able to understand what the truth is again, because there's been so much overlay, so much muck, that there's like a real distortion, even with our intuition. I mean, the more and more I study, the more and more I become spiritually awakened, the more and more I realize that, like I always did, I didn't know, I didn't know that. I knew, one piece of that, but then you look at it from a different framework, a different space and consciousness, and the whole picture's different. So we keep doing this, but it's guided, it's supported, and so things are changing. So I feel like there's a lot of clear, accessible knowledge and wisdom that me and so many other women are here to share right now, to prepare other women to lead, their families, to lead their own lives. And you have to, that's just it with women's work. You can't, like, I'm going to get a certificate and be a leader. I like this is like my scout, which is beautiful, like to train and do it without embodying it first. Like, you have got to embody this. Otherwise, you can't walk with it. If you have any gripes, I mean, they'll show themselves along the way. We're not all, perfect. But we consistently have to keep transmuting, growing, maturing, and growing, so that we have more to be able to pass down. And we're all just doing this together. We're all like living ancestors for one another. Many of us are living ancestors again, period. But I mean, like, we are really, it's like your people aren't just across the veil. Your people are here. Your people might have sent us, but we're here with you. And the difference is we've been walking it. So we've been trotting the darkness. We've been trotting the light. So we've been like really, really crushing these diamonds. And, just, it's different when you don't have a lived experience of it. Like, I would never be able to be somebody who stands in front of you and teaches something from a book. I mean, I my body's like, oh. It doesn't mean that I won't be able to read you something or recite something, but I generally want to be able to pass on that which I have used, tried, grown through, and what my strengths are. And the things that are not my strengths, I'll continue to work on. And that's all perfect. And eventually that might be a very strong medicine for me. And so 10 years from now, I might be able to serve that. But for right now, we just use what we have and we just get in there and go. Like, how can I serve you? And so that's what I wanted to say for today. Um, I could easily be bereft thinking about looking at the world and looking at how the world is asleep and most of us are not aware that we're even connected to God, or that our wombs are really sacred, or that our breasts nourish life. They nourish not only our children, but they nourish other humans, and who not to let nourish. I mean, these are the things that I've had to learn over and over again. And these are things that will help somebody else. And the spiritual fecundity of women, and what it means for you to be in a woman's body at this time. Oh my God, in this world, as the divine feminine is rising, like, what does it mean in your body? What does it mean for the spiritual consciousness that you can bring here? Like, beyond the beyond. Like, how do you bring this high divine source energy and technology and be here as a beacon of light, be a Magdalene Tower in the body on this earth so that you are a power spot everywhere you go? And not because, ooh la la, I'm a high priestess and I'm fancy. I have done that. um, but because, oh my God, I just get to be who I am. You get to just be who you are, whoever that is. And you get to strip it back. What a discovery. Like, what a joy to be able to, like, she's so sexy, taking off all these masks, taking off all these personas. It's actually so much more simple underneath. There's a lot less woo woo and a lot more um, simplicity, refinement. Um, it's not as big. I mean, it is as big, but it's not as like juicy, like wild animated. It's much more like when you just know. Whew, when you just know the truth, when you just know who you are. There's oftentimes a lot less to say. And that need to take up space, you've moved past that phase of needing to take up space to show everybody that you're there because you finally allowed yourself to be there. And then folks just see you there. Then you don't need pom poms, or to really, you showing up, your presence is what shows up for you, through you. It's less antiquated and less about what you say, although your words are really important. So, what if this was bestowed to our women, to our mothers, and to our daughters, especially now in the era of the internet, where it's like big party, bizarre transmission. What we need is for women to be able to transmit themselves, to transmit the presence of the one, not the Muppet Show, the presence of the one. And if those sisters and those mothers are able to come back home to that presence of the one, how will that dramatically shift the family dynamic, heal, and bring us back into unity where we can really create the change on the planet that we have been dreaming about? That some of us are still not even sure it's possible because we don't even see it yet. But to be able to be a woman who is birthing a concept, a world inside of her, and she gets to contribute that energy, that structure, whatever it is, even if it's just her way of embodying and being an emanation of the divine, it'll be something that has not yet been here. And that is an anchor. That in itself is a house. It's like somebody building a house that walks around. So I'm going to leave that here for today. Just felt important to share and get into that. And stay tuned. We will be talking more about this and more about how to do it. Like what is required to actually do this, to walk as a Magdalene, to like really do it from within. Like bring it from concept into the embodiment. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Take care.